Okay, today I'm going to talk to you about the blood. We're going to talk about the main four components of the blood and what their kind of role is in each case. So, first of all, we have red blood cells. Now, the scientific name for red blood cells that we might come across is erythrocytes. But basically, that just means red blood cells. Now, the job of red blood cells is absolutely essential because what they do is they carry oxygen around the body. Now, we need this oxygen for respiration. Okay, so red blood cells, they kind of have this shape here. A shape that's referred to as a biconcave disc. They also have no nucleus. Now, the reason why they have this particular shape and no nucleus is so they can carry as much oxygen as possible. This gives them a very large surface area in order to carry as much oxygen as possible. So, the way that oxygen attaches to it is the red blood cells actually contain this thing called hemoglobin. Now, hemoglobin is just this red pigment, and the oxygen actually binds to the hemoglobin. It attaches to it. When it attaches to the hemoglobin, we form this thing called oxyhemoglobin. So the whole purpose of a red blood cell is to carry oxygen around the body and to deliver it to every cell for the process of aerobic respiration. Okay, next up we have white blood cells. Now, these also have a very important job. What these do is they fight against pathogens. Now, pathogens, these are just microorganisms, so tiny living things that could make us ill, give us a disease. So there's two types of white blood cells we need to know about, and those are phagocytes, and number two is lymphocytes. Okay, so phagocytes, what they do is they surround and they engulf a pathogen. So if a pathogen, let's say there's one there, gets into our body, the phagocyte can actually kind of surround it and engulf it, break it down. So that is one way that it can affect, that white blood cells can fight against pathogens. Phagocytes engulf them using the process of phagocytosis. Now, the other way that white blood cells can fight against pathogens is in lymphocytes. So let's say this is a pathogen that enters the body, right here. So this is the microorganism that makes you ill. What lymphocytes can do is they release these things called antibodies. And these antibodies can kind of attach to the pathogen and help to break them down. So we've got the two different types of white blood cells, phagocytes that engulf and lymphocytes that release antibodies. Okay, next up, we have these little things called platelets that travel around in the blood. So what platelets are, is they are little fragments of cells that have no nucleus, not much at all, they're just parts of cell, fragments of cell that can help to clot the blood. So they're involved in blood clots. Now, these are really important. Let's say this is a blood vessel here, and unfortunately we've hurt ourselves and we've got a kind of cut in this vessel here, okay? Now, obviously we'd be losing blood right here. Now, what the platelets do is they kind of clump together and they form a clot. Now, this means, first of all, this means there's no further blood loss. So it reduces blood loss because no blood can now exit through here. Secondly, it means that pathogens, remember those microorganisms that make us, give us a disease, those pathogens cannot get in anymore. So therefore the platelets have served their purpose by forming that clot. Finally, we need to know about plasma. So what the plasma is it's a straw-coloured liquid, and this is the stuff that just carries everything along. This is the liquid that carries all of these useful things along. Now, I've actually come up with this thing here called warp punch, that's hopefully going to help us remember the different things that get carried in the plasma. So this is all of the different stuff that gets carried along in the blood. So we've got white blood cells, remember, which fight against pathogens. We have antibodies released by white blood cells. We have red blood cells that are carrying the oxygen along for us. We also have our platelets. So those are the things we've learned about so far. However, there's more stuff in the blood as well. It also carries along proteins. There will also be urea, which is a waste product produced from the liver to the kidneys. We will have nutrients carried along in the blood. We will also have carbon dioxide, because this is a waste product from respiration. So we want to take this to the lungs to get rid of it. And we'll also have hormones. So hormones are chemical messengers that travel in the blood. So if you can remember warp, punch, you should hopefully remember all of the different things that are contained in the blood. Thank you very much.